Omotoso has refused to plead to 63 charges against him, which include rape and human trafficking. With that story...
He is a liar. The biggest lie that he's ever told was that he's a man of God. He is an abuser. He is a predator. He does not care about other people's feelings. He is narcissistic, and the world revolves around him.
I put it to you, man, that you are fabricating your evidence.
Wow.
The version that you gave the police.
Trying to make good in this country, because people assaulted me. They've been insulting me, naming me, calling me by names. I thank God.
Timothy Omotoso, a name that once echoed through evangelical circles in South Africa, known for miracles, flashy suits, and charismatic sermons, became the face of a trial that tore at the heart of a nation. As the head of Jesus Dominion International, Omotoso built a following, especially among women and youth, through promises of spiritual healing and prophecy. But behind the pulpit, allegations of exploitation and abuse would expose a darker narrative that raised hard questions about faith, power, and justice in South Africa. Hello everybody, welcome back to Mysterious Matters. If you're new here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Please remember to watch the ads as they really help support the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. Today I will be covering the case of Timothy. It will be a brief summary, not yet organized, but just to give you an overview of what transpired. Over the years, South Africans have witnessed a disturbing trend, pastors using their religious influence to exploit vulnerable followers, especially women and children. Omotoso's case stood out not only because of the severity of the accusations, but also because of how publicly it played out. In April 2017, Omotoso was dramatically arrested at Port Elizabeth Airport by the Hawks as he allegedly tried to flee the country. They caught him hiding in the airport bathroom. That moment marked the beginning of a long legal saga that captured national attention. He, alongside his co-accused Lusanda and Sito, was charged with over 32 to 60 counts, including human trafficking, sexual assault, and racketeering. Among the 49 witnesses, one voice heard in court was Cheryl Zondi's. At 22, during her appearance in the witness box, Zondi told the court that the abuse started when she was only 14. She recounted how Omotoso, under the guise of spiritual mentorship, manipulated her into believing she was part of a divine covenant, a sacred relationship that could not be disobeyed without angering God.
I was a virgin at the time, so he took caution not to go all the way. So he continued shoving until he reached climax. When he was done, he told me to go to the bathroom and wipe myself off. So I went and wiped myself off for the toilet.
In the High Court heard her emotional testimony, which brought the courtroom and the nation to a standstill. But it wasn't just what she said. It was also how she was treated that caused a national outcry. Inside the courtroom, Cheryl Zondi's voice trembled, but her words hit like thunder. Taking the stand with fierce composure, Cheryl revealed chilling details about the level of control she was subjected to under Timothy Omotoso's ministry. According to her testimony, she wasn't just a church member, she was monitored, restricted, and silenced. She told the court that she was strictly forbidden from speaking to or even being near any man outside of her own family. No male friendships, no casual conversations, no innocent greetings, absolutely nothing. The only man she was allowed to interact with was the one at the center of it all, the pastor himself. This wasn't just a rule. It was a system of isolation, one that separated her from normal teenage experiences, friendships, and the outside world, and it was framed as obedience to God. Her voice, steady yet scarred, painted a picture of spiritual manipulation cloaked in scripture, revealing the hidden rules and invisible chains that governed life behind the walls of that church.
I was not allowed to make contact with males other than my family members because of his insecurities. If I looked at someone who was male in the church, I would get in trouble. I would have to beg and plead for my life. He would call me stupid and I would say I'm stupid until he forgave me.
After 2.5 years.
Trapped in what was meant to be a sanctuary, Cheryl Zondi, the young woman at the center of it all, was living a nightmare behind the walls of what many called the house of God. But Cheryl saw it for what it truly was, a prison wrapped in scripture. Emotionally drained and spiritually broken, she knew her time was running out. The promises of protection had turned into control. The hymns had become haunting. And the man of God, her oppressor? But Cheryl wasn't going to stay silent. She began plotting her escape quietly, fearfully, but with fierce determination. And in a twist of fate, she used the very money given to her by Pastor Omotoso to fund her way out. It was risky, dangerous, a do-or-die situation. With every step she took away from that house, she wasn't just running for her life, she was reclaiming her freedom, her voice, and her future.
When she told me they were going to leave soon, I had already been packing my things, very, surreptitiously, not trying to draw any attention towards myself because the girls would keep tabs on each other in the house. I threw my bag outside of that window, the bathroom window, from upstairs, and then I took my toiletries last, leaving a lot of my clothes in one of the other closets in the house. And then I walked out. I wanted everyone in the house to be asleep when I walked out, but there was one lady who was still awake, and she was in the kitchen. She was busy cleaning the kitchen. I decided at that moment, this is do or die. It's either I'm going to leave today or, I'm stuck here. So I acted as if I didn't see her. I took the remote key, the one that opens the garage. I let myself out of the door. I quickly ran to my bag. I ran out of the gate. I told the cab driver to wait. Not in.
Can I just have a shot of it? Yes. Hold on.
As Cheryl Zondi took the stand, the courtroom transformed into a battleground. But she didn't flinch, not even when the defense came at her full force. Lawyers accused her of lying, of making it all up. They tried to twist her words, shake her spirit, and break her credibility. But Cheryl, she stood tall, unmoved, unshaken.
I put it to you, ma'am, that you are fabricating your evidence.
Wow.
The version that you gave the police is different in material respects from what you have told the court. In other words, ma'am, I put it to you that you are lying about what happened to you.
With all due respect, that's one of the most absurd things I've ever heard in my life.
That's not a very clever answer, ma'am.
I'm not trying to be clever, I'm being honest.
Because I asked you earlier on, if you will recall, whether when you made your first statement, you intended to divulge exactly what happened to the police in full.
Yes, your question was whether I intended.
Yes, and you said yes, not
Yes.
so.
And as I say to you, traumatic experiences, sir, have that kind of effect on a person's mind. I'm not trying to be emotional here. This is what happened to me. Okay? He did that to me. And I was not trying to remember the finer details in the beginning. Excuse me for that.
Ma'am, don't ramble on, please.
I'm not rambling. I'm just telling you the truth, sir.
Outside those courtroom walls, the noise was deafening, praise and protest clashing on the streets. Some called her a hero, others called her a liar. But Cheryl didn't waver, because deep down she knew she wasn't just telling her story. She was fighting for every young girl who never got the chance to speak. And when the defense lawyer threw in those sharp, unfair questions, trying to rattle her, to humiliate her, she held her ground with grace and steel. This wasn't just cross-examination. It was a war of truth against power. And Cheryl came armed with courage. Every answer she gave was a blow to the silence. Every word a step closer to justice. She wasn't just sitting in that witness box. She was standing up for every victim, and she made sure the world was listening. During cross-examination, Omotoso's defense lawyer, Peter Doberman, was criticized for aggressive questioning that many felt crossed ethical lines. At one point, after Zondi testified that Omotoso had partially penetrated her at age 14, Doberman asked, "How many centimeters do you know?" Gasps filled the courtroom, and outraged Judge Mandela Makola interrupted immediately. How would she know that? She could have felt it, Doberman replied. And measured it at the same time? No, I will not allow that question, the judge declared, visibly angered. Judge Makola then thanked Zondi for her bravery and even wished her luck with her university exams, which she had paused to attend court.
How many centimeters? You know?
How can you measure? How would
My Lord, she could have felt it.
how would you know that? How many centimeters? How would you know that? How would she know that?
She could have felt it.
And then measure it at the same time. I would not allow that question.
It's not going to help to be asking for centimeters. I don't know whether people are supposed to be carrying rulers in their pockets as women so that I can ask for measurements now and then. It doesn't help anything. It's just aggression as far as me is concerned, who's sitting in the court.
A few advocates.
The trial was paused and later resumed under Judge Irma Schumann. Further delays arose due to numerous legal challenges filed by Omotoso's defense team, who repeatedly argued procedural flaws. Throughout it all, Zondi stood firm, acknowledging in lay testimony that trauma affected her memory and that some inconsistencies between her oral and written accounts were a result of shame and confusion. She explained she had stayed in the church after the abuse began because she was psychologically trapped and feared spiritual consequences. Social media exploded with support for her. Anti-apartheid icon Lilika Mandela, herself a survivor of sexual abuse, openly praised Zondi's strength, saying, "I feel pain for this young woman. She's courageous. Her treatment in court explains why many victims stay silent." The church faced backlash. Angry crowds gathered outside Jesus Dominion International's Port Elizabeth location and services had to be suspended. Zondi reported receiving death threats. While the courtroom was filled with tension, outside it was a completely different story. As televangelist Timothy Omotoso faced serious charges inside the High Court, a loyal crowd of church supporters gathered just outside, undaunted and unwavering in their devotion. Cameras captured emotional moments as followers waved enthusiastically, some with tears in their eyes as he was escorted in and out of the courtroom.
There are hundreds and thousands of people who are languishing in South African prisons without having their trials beginning and concluding, without any undue and unreasonable delays. And that is a violation of Chapter 2 of the Bill of Rights, Section 3, subsection D in paragraph A. That says that each and every accused person has a right for a fair trial that must begin and must be concluded without any reasonable delay. And Reverend Omotosa's case has been delayed for 4 long drawn.
But it didn't stop there. The air was charged with song and spirit. Churches' worship services and viral videos lifted their voices in powerful harmonies. Their presence turned the courthouse entrance into what felt like a Sunday morning revival. Songs of praise echoed down the street, while placards and chants proclaimed their leader's innocence. Supporters passionately told reporters that Omotoso was not just a pastor to them, he was a prophet, a father figure, a man of God sent to change lives.
And the way Reverend Timothy Omotoso has been good to me, not only by the words of wisdom that comes out of that mouth, I felt like being at school.
The first time I met Timothy Omotoso, I met him in prison. I was serving a sentence as a detainee.
Many claimed they had experienced healing, guidance, and miracles through his ministry, calling the charges a spiritual attack meant to silence a divine voice. Despite the gravity of the case, the atmosphere outside resembled a spiritual rally more than a criminal trial. The loyalty was loud, proud, and unwavering. One of Timothy Omotoso's victims stepped forward and broke the silence, sharing how what began as spiritual excitement quickly spiraled into something dark and disturbing. She joined the church full of hope, like so many others, drawn in by the music, the promises, and the charismatic man of God. At first, it felt like she had found her purpose.
When I came back, one of the dancers came to approach me that she wants me to join their group and stuff. And then I joined the group. It was okay. It was fun. And then one day, man of God asked me to come to his house at Sumhlanga. And then I got excited because everyone wants to go there. Everyone wants to go there. And then when I went there, that's when everything just... I didn't even know. I was in shock. I was shocked about what was happening there.
It started with small things, what seemed like innocent requests. "Massage my feet," he'd say. She didn't question it, not at first. But then the requests escalated. The so-called spiritual leader began asking for full-body massages, and soon those requests crossed unthinkable lines.
He asked us to massage his feet. Okay, we did that, to massage the feet and fine. Okay, he asked us to come, sikivele mpeteni. Okay, fine, sakibela, sakubega, and then he said, "Thank you, Mbali." He didn't say anything. He just said, "Thank you, Mbali," and then Mbali went out. And I was very shocked. I was, okay, I'm alone now with this man. Massage all over the body and stuff. Okay, I did that, and then Wakumul was okay. As Tandas, he took his Bible and put it on my head, and then he prayed, and then he said I should now go down and him. I said, "No, I cannot do that." And then I jumped out of the bed, and then I left.
What was supposed to be a house of worship had turned into a web of control, manipulation, and exploitation. She told the media how the church, which promised salvation, became a place where her boundaries were slowly broken and her silence expected. This wasn't faith, it was grooming disguised as God's work. In April 2025, after 8 years in jail awaiting trial, the High Court handed down its verdict. Timothy and his co-accused were found not guilty on all charges. The reason? The court found that the case had been mishandled by the state. The National Prosecuting Authority admitted that former prosecutors had acted improperly and failed to cross-examine witnesses thoroughly. Despite multiple delays and strong emotional testimony, the verdict came down to technical legal failings. Omotoso, now in his 60s, told the media he thanked God for the outcome. South African news outlets reported that he would be deported back to Nigeria following the judgment.
Man of God, how do you feel at the moment? It's been a long road.
The only thing I can say, I thank God. I thank God. I give him all praise. I am 67 by July, next July. I've been in prison for 80 years. For 80 years.
Are you looking to maybe, take legal action forward, seeing as you're not guilty and you've spent so many years?
I think it's better for me to rest first.
Yeah.
I've been in prison for 80 years at this age. So I think we should give some time for that.
What's the first thing you want to do when you get out of prison after 8 years?
Only God can tell me. When it is time, God will speak to me.
The case left the nation divided. Supporters of the accused rejoiced. Others, especially victims of abuse, were devastated, feeling that justice had been derailed by a system ill-prepared to handle such sensitive and complex cases in the public eye. Yet, through it all, Cheryl Zombi's voice did not go unheard. Her courage and composure sparked a national conversation, one that continues today.
Extremely disappointed. I'm furious. This has been 8 years of not just my life, but all of the witnesses involved. We took it upon ourselves to go through a humiliating process, to have our dignity stripped from us in public, to be called names, and have lies and all sorts of fabrications spread about us online when we're walking down the street. Our lives have never been the same after coming out about this. And one has to wonder, so this is what the last 8 years of our lives has come down to. The main concern wasn't even the knowing of what he did to us. It's knowing that he's not going to stop. He's going to continue doing this to other women and other girls. And that's what we wanted to stop. That's what we wanted to prevent. To say it ends with us and it's not going to go any further. But he's not going to stop. It's in his nature. And I feel that this is kind of enabling to him. I think things may only get worse from here. Definitely going to be more pompous and believe that this is an act of God. And it's not. I think we're all familiar with the fact that evil prevails in this world. And it's really unfortunate. I feel that we have been failed. I think I speak on behalf of all the other girls when I say we put our lives on the line. We did everything we possibly could. We gave it our all. When we spoke the truth. And I am so grateful to everyone who has contributed to this case. But we didn't study law, and even we could ask questions. Why? Why did you have minors in your house? Why wasn't your wife and your children in the house with the girls? Why were you flying women in and out of the country? Why was it just girls? Why weren't you?
On March 7th, Pamela Mabini, a dedicated community activist and whistleblower, was tragically shot and killed outside her home. What makes this incident even more perplexing is the timing. Just 2 weeks after Pamela's death, the televangelist she had actively campaigned against, Timothy Omotoso, was released on.
The worst thing about this case to me is that I know people who went to this man's church, people who stood their ground when these allegations first came out, but then people who later admitted that they'd seen things that were very distressing. But what's the scariest thing for me is that 3 weeks ago, a main whistleblower in this case was shot dead in her home, and today the man has been acquitted of all charges. Now, I'm not saying that these things are connected. I'm just saying that the state failed her.
This coincidence raises unsettling questions, as it is unclear and does not make sense, especially considering her instrumental role in his arrest and the charges he faces. Pamela, aged 46, was well known for her activism through her non-profit organization, the Maro Foundation, which focused on restoring dignity and addressing issues such as crime and violence in her community. Her work included providing food, clothing, and sanitary products to those in need, as well as supporting homeless individuals and helping children stay in school by providing necessary supplies like school shoes. Pamela's activism extended to her critical role in the trial of Timothy Omotoso, who faces charges of rape, racketeering, and human trafficking. Pamela's whistleblowing efforts were pivotal in his arrest, and she had been a regular presence at the trial, attending protests and offering support to victims and witnesses.
We need to work together. We need to stop abusing and assaulting people that are trying to make good in this country. Because people assaulted me. They've been insulting me, naming me, calling me by names. I don't know whether by doing a good thing is it a sin. And the people, they need to understand that this is, I'm not getting I'm not getting paid for what I'm doing. I'm doing it out of my heart. And for my foundation to take care of these young girls, because they've got nowhere to cry on. And I have to avail myself. I'm there. I'm calling Minister that we look at Omotoso's, as you did stated before, that he's getting a preferential treatment. We need to look at that. And we need to defend and stand for that. That he needs to feel that he's in jail. He needs to feel that. He must not think that he's in his place there. So we need to also to work on closing these churches. And if any one of those so-called pastors, they don't have qualification, we need to close those churches.
However, this involvement brought her into direct conflict with powerful figures, and she began receiving death threats shortly after the trial began in 2018. Her family later confirmed that she had also been assaulted years earlier due to her social and gender activism in Nelson Mandela Bay. Pamela's murder has raised serious concerns about the safety of whistleblowers in South Africa, who often face retaliation, loss of livelihood, or even death for speaking out. Her mother, who had lost her sole breadwinner, was too devastated to speak to the media, but Pamela's cousin, Luzuko, described the family's grief, saying it was incredibly painful to lose someone in such a manner. According to police, Pamela was found with multiple gunshot wounds in her Chevrolet Becky, parked near her garage, shortly before 11 o'clock on the morning of her death. In addition to her advocacy for victims of gender-based violence and crime, Pamela was an outspoken critic of local political leaders. Thank you so much. Don't forget, leave your comments down below and tell us your thoughts about this case. I'm still struggling to understand everything that has transpired.